1866, Saint Petersburg. A young man climbs 4 flights of stairs. Under his coat, swung into a loop, is an axe. He's not desperate, not quite starving. He has a theory, and he's about to test it on a human being. His name is Rodion Raskolnikov. And before this story ends, he will ask the question every person in his life has asked. And the question goes like this. If you could get away with it completely, no police, no prison, no witnesses, would you kill somebody? Would you hurt somebody? And would that make it right? Dostoevsky wrote 600 pages to answer that, but I'll give you the answer in 20 minutes. But the important thing is that you have to make it feel first, because if you only understand it, you'll forget it by Tuesday. Important point. This is not a book report. This is a postmortem on a murder that's still teaching people something 160 years later. So, let's begin. Part 1. The title that got murdered. Here's something most people don't know, even the ones who read this book in college. Crime and Punishment almost wasn't called Crime and Punishment. Dostoevsky's working titles including something darker, more honest, a story about the drunkards, about the gutter poor of Petersburg, the unemployed, the broke, the people drowning themselves in cheap vodka because sobriety meant looking directly at their own lives. And why does that matter? Because the title we got, Crime and Punishment, sounds clean, legal, like a courtroom sketch. Crime happens, punishment follows. Justice is served. Curtain closes. But the original Russian word isn't crime at all. The word used for crime in Russian language is prestoplenia. Break it down and you get something closer to a stepping across something, like stepping across a line, crossing a line, which doesn't mean exactly a crime, but a transgression. So, this isn't a story about whether a man will be caught. It's a story about a man who has already decided that the line between right and wrong is something he gets to redraw. Keep that word in your mind. Stepping across something. We'll need it later. Part 2. The Theory of the Extraordinary Man. Let's talk about why Raskolnikov picks up that axe. If you think it's about money, you have already missed the plot. And so did half the jury in his own head. Raskolnikov has a theory. And the theory goes like this. History isn't moved forward by ordinary people. It's always moved forward by the rare individual, like the Napoleon, the lawgiver, the revolutionary people, who looks at the moral values everyone else obeys and simply steps over them. Because they have a bigger plan. Because the old rules are for the old, small people, ordinary people. Napoleon didn't ask permission to invade a continent. He just did it. And history called him great instead of calling him a murderer. Because he won. So, Raskolnikov asked himself a terrifying question. What if I am one of those people? I am one of the rare individuals, that I'm one of the individual who gives the law, who doesn't care about the moral values. He sets the moral values. So there is an old pawnbroker in his building, who is cruel, hoarding, exploiting the desperate poor for pennies. In his mind, he has already turned her into an equation, one wretched, useless life traded for the freedom to the enormous good. Money for medical school, money to rescue his sister from a loveless marriage entered only to save the family. Money to become the man who helps thousands instead of being one more starving nobody in a freezing apartment. He's not telling himself, I want to steal. He's telling himself, I'm doing the math the rest of you are too cowardly to do. So, strip away the 19th century coat and the candlelit stairwell, and you are looking at the exact justification every tyrant of the next century would see and would use. The ends justify the means. Some lives matter less. I see further than you, so my rules don't apply to me. Dostoevsky wrote this in 1866. The century that followed would prove with a horrifying precision exactly how many people were capable of believing it. And it's not a coincidence. That's the warning. Part 3. The night the Fury meets the Axe. Here's where the book stops being philosophy and starts being a horror film. The night of the murder. Everything goes his way. The old woman's sister who would have walked in on him happens to be out. The axe he needs isn't where he expects. But he finds another, easier to take. Every lock, every door, every staircase bends itself open. Here, Dostoevsky is quietly making an argument that fate doesn't reward the righteous. It's indifferent. It will hand you the rope just as easily as it hands you the rescue. The universe is not going to stop you from being a monster. That part is entirely up to you. He climbs his stairs. He rings the bell. And if you know your Shakespeare, that bell should make your skin crawl, because it's the same sound that opens the gates of the hell in Macbeth. He swings the blunt end of the axe, and then the part nobody plans for. The sister walks in early, innocent, harmless, utterly undeserving, and he kills her too. This is a detail people forget when they talk about this novel as a clean philosophical experiment. Raskolnikov's perfect theory required exactly one death, but he committed two. The second one was a woman who never hurt anybody. The math was wrong from the very first decimal point. He escapes, he hides the stolen goods under a stone in an alley, and never opens them again. The man who murdered for money never spends a single coin of it, because it was never about the money. Part 4. The speech nobody remembers until the second reading. Before the murder, almost a throwaway scene, Raskolnikov stops into a tavern and meets a broken drunk named Marmeladov, a man who has lost every job he's ever had, stolen from his own starving family to buy liquor, watching his daughter selling her body just so the household could eat. Marmeladov gives a long, wild, half-mad confession to a room full of strangers who are laughing at him. He says something nobody in that bar is sober enough to hear, that there is no one on earth too far gone, too disgusting, too shameful to be forgiven. Not by the people. People don't forgive, but by something bigger than people. Even the drunkards, even the liars, even the ones who have done the worst things imaginable, they will one day be told, "Come forward, I have already forgiven you." Readers blow past this scene. It's drunk guy rambling in a bar. The murder is 20 pages away. Get on with it. But that scene is the entire novel, told in miniature 500 pages before it happens. Dostoevsky is handing you the ending in the chapter 2 and betting that you are too impatient to notice. Because that's exactly what this book is about. Not whether Raskolnikov gets caught, whether a man who has done something unforgivable can still somehow be forgiven, and whether he can survive the unbearable process of admitting he needs it.